Hey Stitch family, it's Andrew. Happy New Year! Happy New Year. I hope you had a wonderful holiday period. You saw in the new year in style and you're looking forward to an amazing 2025. I am. I'm sure it'll be full of ups and downs, but I'm hoping it's full of more ups than downs for you and for Stitch and for everyone in the community. I wanted to put together, the way I always do it this time of year, a bit of a message of thanks and best wishes and reflection on the community of what happened for us in 2024 as we look forward to the future. Share a few things that you may or may not know about what happened around the community last year, and hopefully make you inspired to make the community even better in 2025. So without further ado, here is Stitch in 2024. Now, I'm going to be honest, at the beginning of the year, as we launched into 2024, the way I felt about Stitch kind of felt a little bit like this. We felt we were going into a dark tunnel and I wasn't sure if we were going to survive. You may or may not know that Stitch, while we've been running for 10 years, COVID pretty much almost destroyed us. It didn't. We survived because we're resilient like that, like our members. But since COVID, or through COVID and since COVID, we've been trying to get back on our feet and build the community in a sustainable way where it can run itself and be financially sustainable while it has this positive impact on lives around the world. And we'd made a lot of progress, but we still weren't covering our costs. It does cost a lot of money to run Stitch, build the software, keep it running, protect against hackers, insurance, everything, all that sort of stuff. And I honestly didn't know whether we were going to make it. And as you know, I care about the community so much that I just was a little bit terrified about this thought that we might not make it. We didn't know what we were going to do to try to overcome it and grow and so on. But we were willing to give it a try, but we just didn't know what it was going to feel like. And I'm happy to say now the feeling is a little bit more like this. We're still in the tunnel. We're not quite out of it yet, but gee, we're close. It feels like we can touch and see this wonderful future full of butterflies and flowers and sunshine and so on. But that's largely due to some amazing things that members in the community have done this year and a bunch of things we've done. We've worked really, really hard all year at growing the community and trying to improve the impact we have for our members. And it really has been some incredible progress, and I would love to share it with you because you're part of that story. So one of the biggest indicators for us is the number of in-person activities that are held each year. There's a lot of other things that happen on Stitch, of course. We have virtual activities, interest groups, discussions, one-on-one connections. We look at how often people log in and send messages and connect with each other. But we look to in-person activities because that's the hardest thing to do. To convince someone to suggest and organise an activity for people they may not know yet, and for other members to be willing to go along to those activities, that takes a little bit of, you've got to get off your backside, you've got to get outside your comfort zone, and that's where the most positive social change happens. You all know, or you should all know, that nothing comes easy, and we are a little bit hardwired to be apprehensive about meeting new people. So particularly when an area is just getting started out, it can be really, really challenging to get people to be willing to post events, and suggest them, and then get people in that local area to come along. Once it starts to happen, some magic happens, but it takes a little bit of time. So we look at in-person activities as our number one kind of measure of the impact that we're having on members' lives. Doesn't mean all the other things we're doing isn't as positive as well, but it's the hardest thing to get to grow, and it has the biggest impact. Getting people to change their behaviour and getting out there to meet in person, it's remarkably rewarding, but it does take some time. Now, during the COVID years, we were in lockdown, so we had very, very small numbers of in-person events and activities. There were a bunch of virtual events and activities because we built that during 2020 to build a virtual platform. But you can see why, in many ways, we think of the way that Stitch is today has really only started since COVID, since the end of 2021. You can see the in-person activities starting to tick up there at that point in time because we started to emerge out of lockdown in various places around the world. Obviously, not everywhere was in lockdown, but still some of our communities that had been active got completely annihilated, and many people weren't willing to come out and see each other in person, even if they weren't living in an area where there was lockdown. Well, since that time, it's been really wonderful to see the growth in the in-person activities. 2022, it got over 4,000. 2023, almost 8,000. And in 2024, over 11,000 in-person activities around the world. And these are just the in-person ones. As I said, there's a lot of virtual activities and a lot of other things happening in the community. But for us, having 11,000 in-person activities scheduled by members all over the world is really, really cool and showing this amazing impact. And I don't know if you know, but we've run studies in the past where when people become actively engaged in the community and start becoming regular attendees at events and activities, they report some really big health impacts. A 54% reduction in loneliness and isolation, 40% more physically active. There's a whole lot of improvements in their quality of life, and that's when they start getting involved in activities. So if you've organised one of these activities, or you've come along, so remember, just coming along, you're improving the lives of other members as well. You are a legend. You're doing something that improves lives as well as your own life, and that's what Stitch is all about. We've also seen some great increases in activity organisers. Obviously, we had a bunch during the COVID years who were doing the virtual stuff, but since then, the big increase has been in-person activities that our organisers are running events in various different areas around the world, which is really, really, really cool. So that's it in the numbers, but I think probably a better graphs tell you something, but you don't really get to see where it happens. So I've put together a couple of animations that show through the year just where the events took place. And as we start, you can see them start to pop up. Now on this map, events that are in red are run by something called pioneers, and the events that are in purple are just normal events. Pioneers is part of this program we have called the Pioneer Program to get the community started in new areas, or even if it's in an established area, it might be to get the community started with a focus on new activities or new neighbourhoods and so on. And so we have a Pioneer Program where we provide assistance and support, encouragement and guidance to people who are willing to help start the community in their area. So you can see these little spots will start up, and often there'll be a pioneer. They'll run a few events in a row, and then after that, you'll see that inspires other members to start it, and the community can become active and sustainable. That's a bit hard to see on the zoomed out view. So if we take a look at, here we can take a look at, say, the US and Canada, how it played out through the year, and you can see the different parts of the country. Now, obviously it's not everywhere that we're hosting events, but you're seeing this great growth in activities. The same is true for the UK. What's great in the UK, there are some areas that we haven't had a pioneer, but the members are organising and getting mobilised to do things. But we've got areas where you can see we've got pioneers starting up and starting new areas as well. And finally, here in Australia and New Zealand, as the year rolled on, lots and lots of activities in Australia and New Zealand. We did start in Sydney, the community, and San Francisco at the same time, but Sydney's been much more established for a lot longer. So we see many activities in those areas, but you can see the growth there. And just as one example of why the Pioneer Program is really driving this, I'm just going to zoom over to Perth, which is where we have, well, actually a couple of pioneers now, but one of our pioneers, I'm sure she doesn't mind me mentioning her name, Janine. She started with a lot of enthusiasm to start the pioneering activities in Perth. And you can see as the community started, a bunch of events for her, but then over time, that inspired lots of other members to get active and get Perth up and running as a community, and that's going gangbusters. And we've seen the same, plenty of other examples, Omaha, Nebraska, or the area south of Portland, Seattle. There's so many areas. We've seen over 50 or 60 communities get established in the last 12 months as part of the Pioneer Program, which is really, really cool. And you can see this. We didn't have the Pioneer Program till last year. We had a couple of hundred Pioneer events last year in 2023. In 2024, 1,700 events run by pioneers, which then go on to inspire other members to join and participate in the community, which is really, really cool. So if you're interested in the Pioneer Program, please reach out to us. Just hit contact Stitch on the More menu on Stitch, ask about it, and we can send you a link if you're interested in getting involved in getting the community started in your area, because there's so many more places that need lots of activity, and the more the merrier. We find that each area, often we can get one pioneer, then there'll be 2, 3, 4, but really welcoming new members to their community and going from there. Now, numbers and maps don't really convey the joy that was created. So, I mean, I love seeing those numbers because it means we're heading the right direction, and we're inspiring more and more people to do the right thing and get out of their lounge room and go and meet people. But the best way to kind of convey things is with pictures, and some of the best pictures this year came from an event we ran in the middle of the year to celebrate or to commemorate Stitch's 10-year anniversary. Although, as I said, I don't think of it as 10 years because it feels to me that we only really got started after COVID because we had to start again. But we did want to commemorate the 10 years since we first began Stitch. And we did this with an event with a whole week of events actually, called World Community Week. And that's where we encourage members from around the world to get together, host events in honor of the celebration, everyone to wear red. And here's some of the photos. I've done another video, so if you want to see them in slower motion, because I know these are a bit fast, but they're just to give you the idea of how much variety, enthusiasm, and all that sort of stuff happened during that week. And just the variety of locations too is quite phenomenal. So go take a look. You can check out the Stitch blog. And I think you can access the blog from the More menu as well these days. So access the blog, but if not, it's stitch.net/blog, and you'll see an article there about what happened during World Community Week. Lots of prizes, lots of fun, that sort of stuff, and some really great outfits and effort everyone went to. Another event that was, I think, a great milestone for us, although it's a bit bittersweet, as I'll explain. At the end of this year, we had a gala here in Sydney event to celebrate, again, 10 years and to do a big event run by Stitch. And it set a record for the largest number of members ever attending a Stitch event. It was 430 people came along. Very exciting for me to see that level of enthusiasm, everyone dressing up. The theme was bedazzling, and just incredible input and enthusiasm for everyone. As I mentioned, a little bit bittersweet because it rained on the night despite there not being a forecast for rain. The venue then wasn't prepared for it. It all turned into a little bit of a disaster because it got too crowded and not everyone got the food they meant to. So it's very stressful actually. In the end, we vowed we'd never use that venue again. But Stitch members, to their credit, went out of their way to make me feel better because I felt so terrible about the way to plan it out. It wasn't quite the way I'd expected, but everyone made the most of it, which I think is another testament to everyone's resilience in the community. And you can see the dancing, the laughter, all that sort of stuff. People still had a great time, and that's really the main thing. So what does that mean for 2024 and looking ahead to 2025? Well, I don't know if you've ever done any hiking, but I remember the first time I did a massive trek. It was in Africa, in the Ruwenzori Mountains. And we were heading towards this peak, and this was like a 7-day trek or 8-day trek. And the first time I'd done real alpine hiking, but you'd see on the distance this peak, and you think that's my destination. And you'd set yourself the goal, and the hiking, it was 1,200 meter climb or something to get there. And it was wonderful. You get to the peak and you have this sense of achievement, but then you realize you get to that peak, you feel so happy that you made it, but you realize there's another peak ahead of you. And personally, that feels a little bit like what we're facing out with Stitch right now. We've just begun. We've achieved something phenomenal. I didn't even mention this year, we won the United Nations Healthy Aging Award for our impact on members. But we still have so many areas of the community where we don't have a community started in someone's neighborhood, or we don't have it in their town or city. So that's our goal for this year. And your goal is to help us with that. If you are in an area where it's not started yet, just get involved. Get involved. You can make a difference. You can improve your life, and you can improve the lives of others. If you are lucky enough to live in an area where it's up and running already, just get involved and enjoy. Don't be afraid to just have fun, because having fun sounds frivolous, but it's actually a really important thing in our lives. To connect with people, embrace as many people, bring them into your lives as you can, because you're all part of one big family, and that's the Stitch family. And I know personally, I get a massive thrill out of the events that I do go to. Don't go to as many as I'd like to because I'm always working. But when I do, I feel so connected to all these people. I hear all these great stories about how people met and what they're doing for each other and where they're going. So that's the story. We've still got a long way to go, but we should be very proud of where we've come. And I'm just so looking forward to you being part of that story in 2025. Look after yourself, get involved, and I hope to see you soon. Bye for now.